Well, it's the second day of the parliamentary year, but we're heading into a significant period for the Chinese community. And it's my pleasure today to introduce Nacy Chen, who's the youngest of the new MPs. She's going to tell us a bit about what's going on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So hi everyone, my name is Nacy Chen, and it's really my pleasure to say to all of the communities that celebrate the Lunar New Year, which includes my own, the Chinese community, but also recognise the Vietnamese community and also the Korean community as well. So happy Lunar New Year, and in Chinese we say 新年快乐. Do you want to try that with me, Mr. Speaker?
Okay,
one word at a time.
Okay.
Yeah. 新年快乐. Well done. So we'll do that together, shall we?
Yeah.
新年快乐. Happy Lunar New Year's to everyone.
Right, okay, now we're going to do a bit of what's going on in the House today. We'll start off with question time. Because we've got the address and reply, there's no general debate, even though it's a Wednesday. Start off with questions for oral answer. Barbara Edmonds, who's one of the new MPs, is the first question up to the Minister of Finance about the approach to COVID-19 and the effect on the economy. Then David Seymour to the Prime Minister about the climate emergency. Maya Lubeck to the Minister of Education about the enrolments in vocational education. Judith Collins to the Minister for the Environment about the Natural and Built Environments Act, which is proposed. Emily Henderson to the Minister for Social Development and Employment about engaging Maori in employment, education and training. Michael Woodhouse to the Minister of Finance about the increase in core government services expenses. Rachel Brooking to the Minister for the Environment about reform in the Resource Management Act. Chris Bishop to the Minister for COVID-19 response about when vaccines are going to be available for border staff. Tamati Coffey to the Minister of Conservation about jobs for nature funding. Nick Smith to the Minister for Local Government about the legislation removing referenda for Maori wards for councils. The Honourable Julian Genter to the Minister of Finance about the effect of unconventional monetary policy on house prices. And Brooke Van Velden, who's the new Deputy Leader for ACT, to the Prime Minister again about house prices. So after that, we will go on to the address and reply debate, and at about 4:45, we'll have some maiden speeches.
And the first one is also a fellow botany candidate, actually, from the ACT Party. So that's Damien Smith leading the way. And then we've got Brooke Van Velden, who obviously is the Deputy Leader of ACT. And then we've got Dr. Elizabeth Kirikiri. And then we've got some from the Labour Party. So our colleague Rachel Brooking and Rachel Boyack. So two Rachel Bs.
Right.
Often confused.
And then that will run through till 6 o'clock. These days we come back at 7 o'clock after dinner. And what will we go on to?
So we're going to talk about the climate change response, in brackets, auction price amendment bill. So that's about the auction market in terms of the emissions trading scheme, ETS. Then we've got the food, so the continuation of dietary supplement regulations. So that's just about extending out the due dates for our supplements. And then we've got the films, videos and publications classification, which is the urgent interim classification of publications and preventions of online harm. A bit of a mouthful, but I think that came out of the Christchurch response as well.
Yep.
And also the secondary legislation bill, which actually I don't know what it is, Mr. Speaker.
Well,
do you?
secondary legislation is legislation that's not primary legislation and not tertiary legislation either. But what it is regulation. So a lot of bills have the power for the government, effectively, Governor General and Council, to make regulations to help the legislation be more effective.
Yep.
And there's a whole pile of different ways this has been done.
Yep.
The idea of this bill is to try and tidy that up, have some consistency, and have some predictability around how secondary legislation works. So it's at second reading. It's an area that very few people find interesting.
But we've seen that in work during COVID, a little bit.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
And this should make some of that secondary legislation like we had during COVID easier to do. So we'll run through till 10 o'clock tonight. And tomorrow we will be back. There'll be select committees in the morning, and we'll be back in the house at 2 o'clock, and we'll run from 2 to 5.
And I'll be at home having dumplings.
Well, you
Tomorrow night. In the evening once I get
Oh,
there.
you're very lucky. Well, tomorrow night I will be in a car, later at night, going to the West Coast, because I'm going to be doing the coast to coast bike league.
Good luck for that. Yeah.
I think I have to be at a start line at 4:30 on Friday morning, so I'm feeling tired already.
Yep.
Okay, have a good day.